The road to Port Briar shimmered in late afternoon heat, a silver ribbon cutting through pine and scrub toward the coast. Selina Hart kept her hands steady on the wheel of her aging silver Corolla, a coffee thermos rattling in the cup holder every time a seam in the asphalt thumped under her tires. She wore a simple navy blouse, hair pulled back, flats instead of heels. No state plates. No security detail. No one would guess that the 40-year-old black woman humming softly to an old jazz station was the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Kingsford. She was headed to Lila's commencement. Her goddaughter, the only person who could coax Selina to leave the marble corridors and endless depositions early on a Friday. Port Briar's University sat on the bluffs, gulls carving low arcs over the stadium. Lila had texted a photo of her cap, tassel crooked, grinning. "Don't be late, Auntie. I want you in the front row." Ahead, flashing blue lights sliced across State Route 417 near the sign for Welcome to Easton Ridge, Pride of the Valley. A cluster of patrol cars boxed the center lane. 3 officers stood with hands perched on their belts, and in the middle, a broad-shouldered sergeant with a square jaw and sunglasses leaned into traffic like a sentinel. Selina eased off the accelerator and sighed. Small-town checkpoints, seat-belt hunts, insurance stings, fishing expeditions. She had litigated against enough of them to recognize the choreography. The sergeant raised 2 fingers and chopped them toward the shoulder. She signaled, glided the Corolla to the gravel, and killed the radio. Dust drifted up, motes catching sunlight. In the side mirror, she watched him swagger up, Sergeant Blake Harrow, according to the stitched name arc on his chest. Easton Ridge Police. The patch's eagle was so oversized it nearly touched the seam of his sleeve. "Afternoon, ma'am," he said, voice pitched to Carrie. "License and registration." "Step out of the vehicle." Selina rolled the window down only halfway and kept both hands visible on the wheel. "Good afternoon, Sergeant. May I ask the reason for the stop?" Harrow's smile didn't touch his eyes. "Routine safety check. And you were drifting over the center line back there. Let's not make this hard. License, registration, and step out." "I didn't drift," Selina said evenly. "Dash cameras will show that. I'm happy to provide documents." Behind him, 2 deputies peeled away from another car like vultures abandoning a finished carcass. One, young, sunburned buzz cut, circled toward the passenger side of Selina's Corolla and cupped his hand to peer in. The other, wider and older, stayed by the cruiser, tapping a citation book against his thigh. Selina passed her license and registration through the slit. Harrow glanced at the card, then held it up to the sun as if authenticity lived in the light. "Ms. Hart," he said, rolling the name around. "From Northwell City. Long way from home. Going to a graduation in Port Briar," she said. "And its attorney." "Ms. Hart is fine," he cut in lightly, the smile sharpening. "Step out of the vehicle." She unbuckled, stepped out, and closed the door gently. Gravel pressed into the soles of her flats. A wind lifted, warm and dry, carrying the smell of hay from some field beyond the treeline. Harrow looked her up and down as if evaluating merchandise. "Where you headed again?" he asked. "Port Briar. State University. My goddaughter's commencement." He snorted. "Nice. Eating and drinking tonight then? Must be why you were in such a hurry. Looked like 40 over to me." "That's impossible," Selina replied, still calm. "I had cruise control set at 55, the posted limit." The younger deputy, Rook, according to his badge, rapped the passenger window with his knuckle and smirked. "Got any open containers in there, ma'am? Any herbal supplements legal in other states but not here?" He drew out the last phrase like a taunt. The older one, Denny, sidled closer to Harrow. "Sarge, look at her plate frame. Northwell. These city folks always act like they're above the law." Selina folded her hands in front of her. "I'm fully compliant, Sergeant. But you have no basis to ask me to exit beyond what I've already done, and certainly no basis to search my vehicle." If this is a seat belt or speed stop, issue the citation and I'll contest it. Harrow's jaw ticked once. Attitude noted. He turned slightly, speaking loud enough for the line of stopped vehicles to hear. You know what I don't like, Miss Hart? When people try to tell me how the law works on my highway. Selina said nothing. Years of arguments in packed courtrooms had taught her that silence can be a blade sharper than any retort. Hands behind your back, Harrow said suddenly. Rook's eyebrows popped. Denny blinked. Selina's heart thudded, a single heavy toll, then steadied. On what grounds? She asked. Harrow leaned in close, breath hot with coffee and mint. Obstruction. Non-compliance. Suspicion of impairment. Pick one. We'll sort it out at the station. He reached for her wrist. Selina shifted her stance, not resisting, just refusing to flinch. Gravel crunched under Harrow's boot as he closed the gap and clamped down hard. Pain flashed along her forearm. Rook watched with an eager lean, like a boy at the edge of a fight. Denny looked at the stopped traffic, then away. Careful, Selina said quietly. You're hurting me. Still got that tone, Harrow murmured. That look in the eyes. I've seen 100 like you pass through Easton Ridge. We teach manners here. Rook chuckled. Sarge, want me to get the back seat ready? Plastic cuffs. Do it. Selina inhaled once, slow. She had read the complaints against Easton Ridge PD. Extortionate fines from safety blitzes. Impounds that never quite found their way back to owners. Forfeitures filed on the thinnest pretexts. Too many hot, hurried signatures on too many pre-printed forms. It had been on her list, after the human trafficking docket, after the Medicaid fraud ring in the Plains District, after the backlog of post-conviction DNA motions. She hadn't planned to meet Easton Ridge this way. Harrow squeezed her wrist again, harder. We're done talking. You'll get your lesson down at the house. The house? She asked. She grinned. What we call the station. Rook popped the Corolla's rear door and snapped a pair of flex cuffs in the air for effect. Denny muttered, Sarge, maybe write the ticket and... Shut it, Harrow hissed without looking back. Put her purse in evidence. Denny hesitated, then strode to the Corolla. He opened the door with more force than necessary, the hinges squealing, and snatched the leather tote from the passenger seat. He held it by 2 fingers as if it were contagious. Selina didn't move. She let the weight of his hand on her wrist register, cataloging pressure, angle, the slight tremor. She glanced at the dash cam mounted on Harrow's cruiser, unblinking, accusatory. 2 drivers in the line of stopped cars had their phones up, recording. Harrow kicked the sole of her flat. Walk. They marched her past the checkpoint into a waiting cruiser with Easton Ridge etched in peeling white letters. Rook held the door, shoulders squared for the cameras. Welcome to Ridge House, he said, voice dripping with triumph. You'll love our hospitality. Inside, the air smelled like vinyl and old sweat. Selina stared at the cage partition, at the ghost of shoe scuffs on the black floor. She could say her name now. She could end this in a sentence. But names only change behavior when they're spoken to people capable of shame. She wanted to see how far Harrow would go without a lifeline to pull on. As the cruiser rolled, siren chirping once for fun, Easton Ridge slid by in a wash of gray cinderblock and sunburned signage. Pine Root Pawn and title. Jax's Family Buffet. Crescent Motel, weekly rates. A mural half peeled from a brick wall read Welcome Home Eagles in blue letters, the paint bleeding like a bruise. They turned onto Calder Lane and stopped before a squat building with a tin flag whipping on a short pole. Easton Ridge Police. Service. Duty. Pride. The last word was scratched so deeply it cut through the paint. Rook hauled open her door. Field trips over. Inside the station, fluorescent lights hummed. A single plastic plant sagged in the corner. Harrow slapped her tote onto a metal desk, then dropped into a rolling chair and started tapping a pen against a clipboard. Name, he said, not looking up. Address. Employer. Who's bailing you out? Selina met his gaze. Sarah Benton. Rook snickered. Denny stood by, jaw tight. Harrow's smile went sly. Sure it is. Get her prints. Charge her with speeding, no seatbelt, resisting, disorderly, whatever else fits in the boxes. We'll teach Ms. Benton the Kingsford way. Rook pivoted toward the print scanner. Denny cleared his throat. Sarge, grounds are thin. Harrow slammed the pen onto the metal. The crack ricocheted off the walls. Evidence, he said, each syllable flat. In this house, we don't wait for it. We build it. Selina watched him, then the door beyond the booking desk, the door to the cells. Somewhere behind it, a woman coughed, deep and raw. Another voice murmured, then went quiet. The hum of fluorescent bulbs swelled, a cheap electric ocean. Let's begin, Harrow said, rising. Ms. Benton's lesson starts now. Selina lifted her eyes to the clock above the seal, 4:12 p.m. Lila's ceremony started at 6. She rolled her shoulders once, as if settling an invisible robe. Understood, she said softly. And she stepped forward into the house. The holding cells reeked of bleach and damp concrete. The sound of dripping water echoed somewhere out of sight, metronomic and maddening. Sergeant Harrow shoved open the heavy door and gestured toward the nearest empty cell. In you go, Miss Benton, he sneered. Selina stepped inside without hesitation. 2 rusted benches lined the walls, graffiti etched deep into the paint. No justice here, Ridge Dogs rule. A thin strip of barred window let in a sliver of sunlight, which only made the shadows look darker. As the bars clanged shut, Harrow leaned close. You city folks think rules protect you. Out here, rules are whatever I write in the report. And the judge? He owes me favors. He smirked. So get comfortable. Deputy Rook scribbled on a clipboard, tossing out charges as if they were raffle tickets. Speeding, resisting, disorderly, obstruction, reckless endangerment, maybe even assault on an officer. Selina's lips pressed into a thin line. She said nothing. Deputy Denny shifted uneasily. Sarge, that's too much. We don't even have dashcam footage to back. Harrow cut him off with a glare sharp enough to silence him. Dashcam's mine. I decide what gets logged. Don't forget who signs your overtime slips, Denny. Selina sat on the cold bench, hands folded neatly in her lap. She studied the officers the way a surgeon studies a failing heartbeat, noting every twitch, every weakness. Her silence unnerved them more than any outburst could. Rook finally muttered, "She's too calm. Something's off." "Doesn't matter," Harrow replied. "She'll learn once the booking's official." He turned and barked orders. "Rook, get the scanner. Denny, log her property. Write the narrative." Suspect became combative at roadside stop. "Keep it vague. You know the drill." Selina heard every word. Each fabricated detail. Each lazy conspiracy of corruption. She had seen reports like these on her desk in Northwell, complaints buried under jargon and rubber stamps. But now she was living it. Just as Rook returned with the scanner, the station door banged open. A tall man in a crisp but worn uniform stepped in. His hair was graying at the temples, his jaw tense. "Captain Eli Warren." "Mitchell, what's this?" His voice carried authority but not bluster. "It's Harrow, sir," Rook whispered. Warren's gaze landed on Selina in the cell. Something about her posture, the unflinching calm, the way she regarded the room as if memorizing it, made him frown. "What's she in for?" Warren demanded. Speeding, resisting, disorderly, Harrow rattled off. Warren raised an eyebrow. "All from one stop?" Harrow's jaw clenched. "She gave me attitude. Needed a lesson." Warren stepped closer to the cell, studying Selina. "Ma'am, your name?" Selina met his eyes, her voice even. "Sarah Benton." The pause stretched long. Warren narrowed his eyes, suspicion flickering. He'd seen liars. This didn't look like one. Turning back to Harrow, Warren said coldly, "You don't book anyone without evidence, Sergeant." I want this paperwork reviewed before a single charge goes in the system. Harrow bristled. Captain, with respect, I've been running roadside for 15 years. I know when someone needs to be brought in. This woman thinks she's smarter than us. We can't let. Enough. Warren's voice cut through like a blade. Do as I say. But Harrow wasn't finished. He leaned toward Rook and muttered, just loud enough for Selina to hear, Captain's gone soft. Doesn't know how we handle things in Ridge. Selina tucked the words away. Every phrase was another nail in their own coffin. Minutes later, the low rumble of engines drew everyone's attention. Tires crunched on gravel outside. A deputy rushed in breathless. Captain, there's a convoy pulling up. Black SUVs. Government plates. Harrow's face drained of color. What kind of government? Federal, the deputy whispered. The station fell silent. Then the front door swung open, and a group of stern-faced officials strode in. At their center, a tall man with sharp eyes, wearing a charcoal suit and carrying authority in his stride. Deputy U.S. Attorney General Marcus Rowell. Who's in charge here? Rowell barked. Captain Warren stepped forward quickly. I am. Captain Eli Warren. Rowell's eyes cut past him to the cell where Selina sat. She rose slowly, smoothing her blouse, and stepped to the bars. Rowell's expression shifted. First confusion, then recognition. Selina Hart, he said, voice low but ringing with disbelief. The Attorney General of Kingsford? The room froze. Harrow stumbled back, his face pale as paper. Rook's smirk evaporated. Denny's jaw dropped. Selina inclined her head slightly. Good evening, Marcus. I was just being educated. Gasps rippled through the station. The woman they had shoved, cuffed, and locked in a cell was not a nobody. She was the top law enforcement officer of the entire Commonwealth. Rowell turned on Harrow, his voice thunderous. Do you realize who you assaulted? Do you realize what you've done? Harrow stammered. Sir, I didn't. She. Selina finally spoke with full authority. Her tone was steel. Sergeant Harrow, you're finished. Civil rights violations. False imprisonment. Abuse of authority. And anyone who helped you will answer too. Harrow's knees seemed to buckle. Rook muttered, We didn't know, but Denny raised his hands in surrender, whispering, She told you not to. Sergeant Harrow's breath came fast, his bravado stripped bare. I didn't know. Selina stepped closer to the bars. That's the point, Sergeant. You thought I was just another black woman to bully. You thought no one would listen. But tonight, the truth won't be buried under your reports. Deputy Attorney General Rowell turned on Captain Warren. Why was she even booked? On what charges? Warren swallowed hard. Sir, I questioned the stop. Harrow overrode me. Rowell snapped. Get her out of that cell. Now. Denny scrambled with the keys, fumbling before unlocking the bars. Selina walked out with quiet composure, every movement deliberate, as if reclaiming the space with each step. She adjusted her blouse, her dignity unshaken. Rowell handed her a glass of water. Selina, are you all right? I'm fine, she said, her tone razor sharp. But this station is rotten. What I witnessed in just 1 hour is enough to indict half the force. And I will not let this go. Harrow tried to salvage ground. Sir, this is a misunderstanding. She gave false information, lied about her name. False information? Selina cut in, her voice a whip. I gave you the chance to do the right thing and you failed every test. Instead of admitting your lies, you doubled down on them. You manufactured charges, intimidated your deputies, and treated me like property. Rowell's gaze hardened. Mitchell, he caught himself. Harrow, you're suspended immediately. Effective now. Suspended. Selina corrected. No. Arrested. Civil rights violations, false imprisonment, conspiracy to obstruct justice. I want him cuffed. Captain Warren hesitated only a moment before nodding to Denny. "Deputy, do it." Denny, hands trembling, approached Harrow with cuffs. Harrow tried to pull back. "Wait." Selina's voice cut through. "You told me to put my hands behind my back. Now it's your turn." The cuffs clicked shut. Harrow's face drained of color. But as Denny led him toward the holding cell, Harrow suddenly laughed, a broken, desperate sound. "You think this ends with me? You think I'm the only one? Half this department runs the same game. Tickets, bogus seizures, kickbacks to City Hall. Even the county sheriff's office signs off. You want the truth? It's bigger than Easton Ridge." The station erupted into whispers. Rook froze, color draining from his face. Other deputies shifted uncomfortably, their guilt visible. Selina turned to Rowell. "You hear him? This isn't one rogue officer. This is systemic." Rowell nodded grimly. "Then we're not stopping here. I'm calling in the bureau." Outside, the low growl of engines filled the air again. Black SUVs rolled up, doors opening in sync. From them stepped a team of federal agents in navy jackets marked FBI. Reporters from Port Briar News and national outlets scrambled with cameras, sensing a story bigger than anyone had imagined. Captain Warren wiped his forehead. "God help us." The lead FBI agent, a tall woman with auburn hair and flinty eyes, strode in. "Special Agent Dana Reeves, Civil Rights Division." "Who's in command?" Rowell gestured toward Selina. "The Attorney General of Kingsford." The room tilted. Reporters gasped. Cameras flashed. Deputies shrank into corners. Selina raised her chin. "This department has been running a scheme of fabricated charges and unlawful detentions. Tonight you saw it firsthand. I demand a full federal investigation into Easton Ridge PD, the county sheriff's office, and every court that enabled this corruption." The FBI fanned out, seizing files, hard drives, and dashcam logs. Deputies who had once strutted now stared at the floor as agents read them their rights. One by one, names were taken. One by one, lies unraveled. Within hours, federal warrants were issued. By dawn, 8 deputies, 3 sergeants, and even the county sheriff were in custody. The district attorney's assistant was also indicted for signing off on fabricated cases. The scandal spread like wildfire. Attorney General trapped in corrupt sting exposes entire police department blazed across national headlines. Selina's face appeared on every screen, not as a victim, but as the woman who had dismantled an empire of abuse by refusing to bow. In Port Briar, the commencement went on without her that night. Lila texted, "We'll celebrate when you're free. I'm proud of you." 2 months later, when the ceremony was rescheduled, the entire community cheered not just for the graduates, but for the Attorney General who had stood against an entire system and won. In her office in Northwell City, Selina framed the front page of the Kingsford Herald. Attorney General heartbreaks corruption ring, 40 officials indicted in statewide sting. She kept it on her wall as a reminder that justice sometimes requires more than suits, titles, and podium speeches. Sometimes, it requires walking into the belly of corruption alone, enduring the darkness, and lighting a match so bright the whole nation must look. Selina Hart had shown that even the most entrenched systems can crumble when someone with courage refuses to bow.